Hey guys, I recently made a video where I was being a little critical of the Maverick, but I did want to follow it up with a couple of compliments. For one, the auto stop function is very quick, it's very swift, and it doesn't get in your way whenever you're driving. It doesn't get in the way of you trying to do something swiftly. If you're like, stop, you want to make a turn, as soon as you let your foot off the brake, the engine starts, it's in gear, it's ready to rock and roll. And you would think, well, yeah, that's how auto start functions work. But let me tell you, they're not all made equal, okay? They're not all made equal. I've driven about 3 different vehicles that had auto stop, 3 others, and they all kind of sucked. It took like a second and a half for it to be like, okay, I started, okay, I'm in gear now, okay, I'm ready to go. I'm not a fan of those. Maverick, swift, it's great. I don't know if it's the same way in other Fords. Surely it is. I mean, it's the same stuff, and it's probably the same engine in other little crossovers or hatchbacks. So I'd imagine it's just as swift across the board. Love it. Second thing, this is second on, as far as being fun to drive, and the Maverick being, eager to rev out. I mean, it revs out quickly. It's happy to do so. It's happy for you to drive it right on the edge. It's very, it's got good grip. It's very fun to just kind of take moderately fast and really kind of dig in and drive around corners. It's a lot of fun. I live out in country, so there's a lot of paved roads that people aren't on, and you can see pretty far down the road, and so you can take the roads kind of aggressively, and it's just a joy to drive. The only vehicle that was more fun to drive, which is, of course, wins across the board as being the kind of the car and driver pick of the year, which is a Mazda Miata. I drove it wasn't an NB. I forget all the designations, but let me tell you, it was a 92 Miata. And I don't know the designation, but it's got a little 1.6 liter 4-cylinder, and it was a manual, of course, because an automatic Miata is not even a Miata. Sorry, that's kind of an elitist thing to say. I shouldn't say that. All Miatas are important and special. Loved that thing. Unfortunately, it kind of T-boned, and then it never drove again. It got just blasted. But the Miata was such a joy to drive. It was so light. You could take corners so aggressively, and there's nothing more fun than driving a slow car at its limits, because driving the Miata at its limits poses no threat to you, unless you're driving it on a cliff side. But if you're just driving it around on the highway and you're taking some tight corners, the Miata is very forgiving car to drive, and it's a lot of fun to drive. It's like, I do miss that Miata now that I talk about it. I'm like longing after how fun it was to drive, except for whenever it was like 110 degrees outside, because I live in Texas, and it was topless and the AC didn't work. Oh goodness, that was brutal. But hey, that AC not working probably gave me back another 5 horsepower. Who knows? But so instead of having 50 horsepower, I had 55. But let me tell you, the truth is that the Maverick is just a joy to drive. It's a joy to drive quickly. It's effortless. I took a road trip with a 2019 Toyota Tacoma, and it was not, no hate to the Tacoma, because I do have a lot of love for Toyotas. I think they make great stuff, but the Tacoma is inferior driving on the road to the Maverick. But what I will say is that The Toyota Tacoma is like a 4 out of 10. And 10 being like, I don't know. But let me say that the Toyota Tacoma is not as good to drive on the road as the Maverick is, but the Toyota Tacoma is of an order of a magnitude better at driving off-road, and I don't mean just in the grass off-road. I mean like off-road, you know, taking it out, you know, due to the suspension of the suspension and the ground clearance of the Maverick. It's not real good for off-road. I've seen it get caught up on some pretty puny stuff, but I didn't buy the Maverick to go off-road. And I imagine there's going to be a whole sect of people who, you know, get that lift kit, who gives it, you know, 3 more inches, and they'll throw bigger tires on it, and they'll make it a better off-road vehicle. But I would go as far as to say that there's almost nothing that you could do to the Maverick in the aftermarket that would make it stand up against a Toyota Tacoma factory 4-wheel drive, you know, the full off-road stuff. It's just so good. But the Maverick is easy to drive. It's easy to do a lot of miles. I drive a lot of miles, and never do I get out of the Maverick and you know, need to stretch or who and ah and all this other stuff. I feel refreshed. It's fine. Why is this person braking so hard in front of me? Oh, they're getting over. Sorry, it's a 2-lane road, and there's not much of a shoulder, but the person braked really hard to make a turn, but they got out of my way, so I don't care. Let's see, I said auto start, and then the really is just a breeze to drive. I'd have to compliment it on its fuel efficiency. If you're being a good little boy and you put the daggum cruise control on and leave it, unless you want to hypermile it, you know, which if you hypermile it, you can get some pretty good mileage out of it. You know, you can get really decent 31 miles to the gallon, which is really decent, and no other small truck is getting that kind of mileage. One thing I will point out, which I thought was interesting, is that the cruise control, you can turn the cruise control on at 25 miles an hour, which is the lowest I've ever seen of any vehicle. I'm not sure if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but what I did want to say, another thing that I did want to point out, is that if you set the cruise control at 55 miles an hour, this truck will do 40 miles to the gallon. So if this gas problem turns into a gas crisis, which I think it may, your boy's going 55 miles an hour everywhere. I'm going 55 miles an hour everywhere. I'm getting that 40 miles to the gallon, and I'm going to be a happy boy while I'm doing it. I just have to turn on some decent tunes is all. Yeah, man, the next thing that I'm going to do with this vehicle, which I probably would have done it anyways, but the next thing I'm going to do with this vehicle is work on a sound system. Man, this person's on their phone. They're not paying attention. Wow, that's kind of scary. I'm getting out from beside them. Yeah, let's get out of here. Let's speed up and go. That's kind of off-putting. They literally had their phone like this. I know I'm talking to a phone, but at least I'm looking at the road most of the time. But he's like that, and he's just ping-ponging off the lines. That's safe. Okay, sorry. Man, what was I saying? Oh yeah, 55 miles an hour everywhere. Because holy crap, the gas prices are out of this world. And what's funny is I bought this vehicle just before the gas prices really started to shoot up. And boy, howdy, am I so happy that I got something that was at least moderately fuel efficient. I know that, you know, 31 miles a gallon isn't amazingly fuel efficient, but for a vehicle with a bed that can tow 4,000 pounds, for what all it is, 30 miles a gallon is actually not bad, if you ask me, which is why I bought it. Of course, I'm not going to sit here and be like, this thing sucks. I would have traded it in already. Oh, man. So, I really think that's it. I really don't think anybody's watching up to this point, so I feel like I can just leave a little bit of dead air while I think, because it doesn't matter. Some psycho may leave it going in, you know, in the background, or it gets turned on autoplay for whatever reason, and now they're just hearing me ramble on about how they're on autoplay, and now you're like, oh crap, I gotta go find a different video because this one's boring as crap. Sorry. Anyways, well, how fast am I going? 77. Okay, that's fine. I'll go 7. Well, yeah, no, sorry. The next thing I'm going to be investing in is a sound system. I had put aftermarket speakers in the doors, down in the doors. By the way, keep in mind that if you want to put aftermarket speakers in the doors, know that your mounting depth is extremely shallow. You have, like, I think 2 inches to play with. You want to double check. Well, you got off your phone, buddy. Now you're getting up and going the speed limit, but you almost came into my lane. God bless you. God bless you. You're having a rough time, aren't you? It's that daggum Suburban again from earlier. What was I saying? Oh yeah, I put aftermarket speakers in the doors, and the power that it put out was so minuscule. The power that the head unit, or this little radio thing, puts out is so minuscule and sucks so badly. Goodness, I don't know what's wrong with me. That it was not able to drive the speakers as well or as loudly as the stock speaker. So I admitted defeat, and I went, okay, well. So I went ahead and boxed back up the aftermarket speakers, put them away, and then I decided, well, I'll just have to throw in a 4-channel amp, and nothing serious. I mean, I'd like 50 watts per channel, so you know, a 400 RMS. I think I saw one from Pioneer that was 50 watts RMS at 4 ohms, and that's plenty. That's all I'd like. And then I can actually start driving a little bit more sound out of these doors. The only next thing I was worried about is I had heard a lot of stories about how much these doors rattle, or how much they, you know, when you actually get a speaker in that can actually, you know, move some air, things start really vibrating in the door, which that would really suck. I'd hate to go in there and have to start, you know, caulking stuff down. Not that I'd do that or anything, but, you know, we'd have to figure something out. All right, I've rambled enough. If you've managed to stay through this whole video, you're a trooper, you're a saint, and I didn't think you had it in you. Good for you.